I'm trying to be positive here because Big Sexy, most of the time, can be a lot of fun, Johnny.
Yeah, he can be. Right up until the moment he takes a stupid, let's be honest here, stupid penalty that basically was a deciding factor in this game tonight.
And here we are back at the feelings we had after game one. Preds lose 2-1 to the Vancouver Canucks in game three, Friday night inside Bridgestone Arena. It's really fascinating, the fact that the Preds won the game in this series so far that they probably should have lost, and lost the two games that they probably should have won. Considering what this team's record is when losing game one of the first game of a series, and that this was the Preds' first playoff home game since May 9th, 2022, and they had a 4-1 record coming into this game when in a series tied at 1 when game 3 would be at home. I thought they would have fared better. And I'll just say this right off the start. It wasn't just on the ice that disappointed me tonight. It was the in-game experience that I felt through the TV and from what I read and heard from fans on Twitter and friends I made in the fan base. Where was Run This Town tonight? And correct me if I'm wrong, was there no hype person with the towel after the anthem? Because maybe Sportsnet didn't show me, but I certainly didn't hear about anything on TV or through the interwebs on Twitter. First period was lackluster in shots. You're at home, your first playoff home game in 2 years, and you get 5 shots on goal? That's terrible, guys. I'll get to how many block shots the Canucks put on you for the entire game, but you've got to be better. This was basically an inverse of game 2, but the Canucks tonight were playing the Preds game, and the Preds were playing the Canucks game from Tuesday. Almost 5 minutes into the first period, Dakota Joshua boards Spencer Stastny into the boards behind Saros' net, and at first they were going to call the 5-minute major, but then we realized it's to review it, and I know some people don't like that because it slows down the game, but it's still the right thing to do to make sure if a guy is actually egregious and deserves to be tossed from a game, is. I personally agreed with the call that it should have been just a 2-minute, but I like the fact that a 5-minute review option is in there. If the Preds would have converted on that, this might have been an entirely different ballgame. And another thing that might have kept this an entirely different ballgame was under 8 minutes left to go in regulation later on when Michael McCarron goes wandering behind the Canucks net. The Smith is out there to play it, and he didn't egregiously run him, but he gave him enough of a bump that the ref had to call it because the goalie is allowed to play it to an extent as long as he's not dishing out the hits, and McCarron, dial it back just a little bit. Worry about the defensemen and forwards when they have the puck and take it a little easy on that because, of course, an egregious penalty, more likely than not, is going to cost you and eventually on the ensuing power play that hadn't converted through the first 2 games of the series does, and JT Miller makes you pay and essentially the team pay, putting the Canucks ahead 1-0. The Preds had 3 power plays in that first period, to the Canucks 2. You know who has to be better in this series as well? The officiating. Too many times throughout this game, they were calling everything in sight or calling 4-on-4. They have to get control in this game, hopefully in game 4 on Sunday. Now, a little nugget from one of the Preds podcasts that I listen to, Penalty Box Radio. They were talking on there what would be better for the Preds in this series, either having a perfect power play or a perfect penalty kill. They said, and I agree, that a perfect penalty kill, more likely than not, would win the Preds this series. But allowing the Canucks to go 2 for 3 tonight on a power play and you going 0 for 5 didn't do you any favors, did it? And I could see it developing in the first period, and it translated into the second period until the third period finally arrived, that the Preds were being way too fancy with their shot selection instead of just getting stuff on net, trying to get tips, because Casey DeSmith was giving up rebounds all night. He played great. I will not discount him that if any Canucks fans are watching this. Hey, Good win. He saved your bacon. But the Preds could have done more to get pucks by him. Second period, a period overall where the Preds would outshoot the Canucks 11-6. Shots picking up, action picking up. This should have been a sign to me and all of us that this wasn't going to be the Preds' night when a simple shot like this, 90 seconds into the period, Jason Zucker to Casey DeSmith's left, gets a shot through that gets through his 5-0. We can all see it trickling towards the goal line. No referee to wave it off for stupid intent to blow. And Casey DeSmith and his teammates see it and clear it off the line before any Pred can get there to bang in a rebound. It was right there. And then a few minutes later, Pred's penalty kill comes back to bite them because Roman Josi trips down Connor Garland, and even quicker than the first power play goal, JT Miller from the side throws it on net just where he was standing at the faceoff dot, and Brock Besser tips it home. The wrong guys are getting on the board for the Canucks, and nobody for the Preds is standing up, and just like that, 4 minutes into the second period, the Preds are down 2-0 to a team that they're out shooting. And sometimes you get a reminder to just breathe because Gustav Nyquist on a clear would have had a clean-cut breakaway, but he was too anxious and overskated the puck before the Canucks players were able to come and prevent his grade A scoring chance. He actually returned momentarily after the first period's boarding from Dakota Joshua, but maybe it's just because of that. I haven't heard the latest. Hopefully he's not out because he's up and coming and promising, but hopefully whoever the next man up, if he does miss game 4, helps turn this thing around. Under 7 minutes left to go in the second period, Luke Evangelista gets a great A chance to score, and it looks like the Preds are going to get a power play out of it because of a play by Quinn Hughes, but Luke Evangelista takes a retaliatory, so we play 4-4. And then that's followed up a minute later by coincidental minors by Gustav Nyquist and JT Miller. Final minutes tick down in a second. I will give Elias Pettersson, who's been usually quiet in this series so far, a great chance to extend the Canucks lead to 3-0, but he's stopped by UC Saros, who up until this moment, despite the Canucks' low amount of shots on goal, you can't fault him for either of them. He just is not getting any offensive support, and the Preds are still down 2-0 after the second period. In the third period, still a little bit too much of the looking for the perfect pass. I appreciate Colton Sisson's effort early in the third period to try and bank one off of DeSmith to get in the net. But considering that he has the lead, he's probably a little bit more cautious of where stuff is coming from. I don't need to see that, Colton. Get something out front and get a shot off to try and get a tip. There was a lot of instances where inches away this game could have been tied or possibly with the Preds in the lead. About 4.5 minutes into the third period, McCarron comes in, gets a shot off. The rebound goes off of Ian Cole, and it's going to go into net before him and Casey DeSmith realize it's there and stop the chance. About 6 minutes into the third period, this is another instance when it looks like a great chance for the Preds to score. Jeremy Lauzon has a puck in the slot, and instead of trying to shoot it, he passes it. And props to Saros that for lack of being tested, aside from the 2 goals he let in that weren't his fault, when he did get the low quantity of shots, and the Canucks overall got 3 shots in the third period to the Preds 14, the Canucks only got 12 shots on Saros, and that was a franchise record low for them. But this is not on Saros by far. We give him fault when it is his fault, but he deserved more support and converting goals in front of him. And then we have the window just over 9 minutes into the third period that if somehow the Preds lose this in 6 or lose this in 7, we're going to look back on this and we'll kick ourselves for this, and this team better kick themselves for this. First, Brock Besser trips down Alexander Carey, and then a minute 40 later, Nikita Zazorov gets a little too desperate and clears the puck out of his zone over the glass, and for 21 seconds,
That's not too shabby of a window. 21 seconds, this team had a 5-on-3 and proceeds to get nothing.
I hope he wakes up with hot flashes tonight in his sleep for this missed chance, as in the dying moments of the 5-on-3, puck comes down low to Casey DeSmith's left. He's down on his stomach. Ryan O'Reilly is staring at the entire net, and he can't chip it over him into the net. Yes, it gets deflected, but he still should have converted because that is what he is paid for. He is on the first line. The factor has to put that one in, and if he does, maybe by the end, Evangelista still scores. I'll get to that. And maybe this is an entirely different game with the Preds getting the momentum into overtime. Time is ticking down. Under 5 minutes left to go in regulation. Under 4 minutes left to go in regulation. And in this moment, as I can multitask, I'm thinking in my head, oh, how many times in franchise history have the Preds been shut out at home in a playoff game? And maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but coming into this game, it was 7 times. Thank God, Luca Evangelista, your first playoff goal, the first of many, I know, and many others in this fan base know you have in you. Whew, with under 3 1/4 left to go in regulation, you scored. So I don't have to worry about number 8 shutout at home in franchise history happening in this game. Preds would call a timeout and pull Saros with over 2 minutes left to go in regulation. He would have to go back to net because of some good defensive pressure by the Canucks. They don't have any energy in them to get an empty netter, but the Preds can't sustain anything. Clock runs down. Horn sounds. Canucks hang on to win this one. If you didn't hear me say it the first time, a franchise record low for shots on goal and a victory for them. They win this game 2-1 and lead this series 2-1. All right, so that being said in this one, got everything off of my chest that I needed to. I'm going to relax tonight and enjoy my Saturday before having to stress over this team again on Sunday. The inverse of Game 2 for Game 3 gives me at least some hope that the Preds aren't going to just sit back on their laurels and try to just block shots the entire game to try and get the win and advance in a series. Despite special teams lacking in this game, 2 stats that I liked seeing in this one that make me feel positive moving forward is that the Preds out-hit the Canucks 32-23, and the Canucks had to block a whole lot more shots. The shot totals being blocked was 28 for the Canucks and 11 for the Preds. Now, if you can repeat this almost same performance on Sunday and do it for a longer period of time over the 60 minutes of the game, you might have a chance very well to tie this thing back up at 2, and it's a best-of-3 series. As for Stastny, no word yet what his long-term prognosis will be, but if he is out for Sunday, obviously Dante Fabro has to come in because I don't want to see Tyson Barrie until we're absolutely desperate to dress him. And Bruno, if you have to, tomorrow for practice, because I'm assuming you're going to put these guys through practice since it's an early game Sunday and they don't deserve to have an optional practice after the result in this game, is to remind them and drill into their brain that you have to get shots on net and stop looking for the perfect opportunity. This team has won Game 7s in their history. I think just one. But they've never come back down 3-1 to force a Game 7. And I don't want to have to face that possibility unless I absolutely have to. For all intents and purposes, Sunday is a must win. Go out there Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Pacific, and get it done. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, click a like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really like it. You can find my social media and interact with me during every Preds game by clicking on a channel name. Tell all your friends about Redemption. Please, Preds, pull up your socks. Make a series of this and don't give me a repeat nightmare of 13 years ago.